I probably told you about this.
No, I don't think so.
What was this one?
Labor relations.
You understand that Michigan was like a major educational facility for the automobile industry. So the reason why Michigan is such a good school is because the industrialization of the country, wherever the economy is the best, is usually where you have the best schools.
How is it now with the economy?
Well, it's the ranking is a little lower than it would have been. If they were making cars, Michigan's ranking is like 8th to 12th. If there were more cars,
It was
being made-
fourth when we went.
Yeah, if they were making more, it jumps around based on the business cycle. If they're making cars and the economy of the state is better, they're going to be better. But when we were there in '82, it was like towards the end of the decline of the dominance of American car industry. And so, like, if you were going to learn labor relations in the United States, there were two places you would do it: Michigan and Cornell. Cornell and Michigan were the two best. So the guy who taught labor relations course had written a textbook on collective bargaining and about negotiating. So I took this course on collective bargaining and negotiating because I was interested in that, and I figured in business you always need to know how to do this. So I take this class, and I had studied political science, and when I was in Temple, I transferred to BU for one semester to take classes in theory of power and like game theory.
Machiavellian was his
all
big
this
hero.
shit about power and every theory of power known to mankind. It was like, I was chasing down some chick, but I also took a master's as a graduate class or two in political science while I was there. So I had read all these like theorists, and I had like hundreds of theoretical ways to attack a situation where there was power. And what happens in international relations, because of the idea of sovereignty, every sovereign believes that they have the ability to make any decision they want, because that's the nature of sovereignty, that you rule. And so in an international political system that's comprised of sovereign nation states, states feel that they're not subservient to anyone else's authority but their own. Okay. So what happened was, he gave a test with an essay questions, and there were like 7 theories of how to deal with a problem, and I added like an 8th and a 9th one in my blue book, and he took off. So I go in.
He took off?
Or I answered
Yeah.
a question using one thing, a concept that wasn't there. So, or he had never heard of it before. So I go into his office. And he goes, a good blue book, he said, but I don't get this part at the end. I said, would you agree that the nature of the interaction in a collective bargaining negotiation between the employer and this has these elements, right? He says, yes. I said, so then if you agree with this, then why are you disagreeing with my argument? I said, because so-and-so states this in terms of the relations between two political actors in the international arena, that this is a strategy that you would use to, whatever it was at the time. So I say this to him, and he goes, this sounds like a bunch of malarkey. I said, Dr. Jones, I said, so-and-so wrote this in this journal. So I said, and it's not malarkey, and it applies, and it works. I said, it applies exactly and it works, and it's unorthodox and disruptive, and whoever would apply this would have a competitive advantage in any labor negotiation situation. So what happens is, he goes, come back to my office with that article. So I hand him the article, and he reads it. He goes, well, you learn something new every day. He said, good point. A. Okay.
Very good, Eric.
So
Eric's.
I come back with the article, hand it to him, and I said, and I handed it to him. I said, I said, your book is very good. I said, but sometimes to take your book and incorporate is good too. And then he gave me the A, and then at the final, there were like 2 midterms on the final. If you had 2 A's, he let you skip the final. So we're in this room at the end of this second semester, I think it was, the first year. And he says...
That was your elective, because I didn't take that.
Yeah, that was my elective,
yeah.
Right. So at the end of the class, everyone's in the class, doing their little test thing, and he goes, if you are satisfied with your grade, you do not need to take the final. So I said, Dr. Jones, I said, what about me? I said, I need to make sure you wrote that grade down in the book when we made that adjustment conversation. So he goes, Mr. Salmonson, there's no way I forgot that conversation, and I do not want to negotiate with you again. You have nothing to worry about. So
You skipped the final.
yes, skip the final because he said you could.
Right.
Well, I used to. I told that to my political science professor at Michigan. From Michigan. That's why I went to Michigan, because my political science professor.
Oh, really?
Go there, yeah. He wrote, and he had his PhD in international relations from Michigan. So he had this course called Politics in the Multinational Corporation. So I did that, and I did another class with him in international political theory, and another class with him in international political theory. And so what happened was, I remember, and he liked my girlfriend. She used to make me bring her to the meetings because he would flirt with her. So he was my academic, because I fired my academic advisor in the academic advising, because you could have your professor sign for you. Because he told me, he said, Eric, he said, there's a lot of putzes around this place. He said, let me be your academic advisor. He said, I'll keep you away from the people you don't want to go near. So I would go to have him advise me, because he would tell me which professors to stay away from. And then I had this good-looking girlfriend in the senior year. And then I brought her once or twice, and he insisted she come back every time. So I remember the last time I talked to him, I walked over to him. I'm walking back with him because I told him I got into Michigan. It was the senior year at Temple when I got into Michigan. I told him the story. And I said, Dr. Menace, I said, why don't you do yourself a favor? I said, when you get to my blue book, I said, just mark A+ and move on to the next one. He said, I can't do that. I said, sure you can. It's done all the time. I said, I've got a track record with you. You don't bet against the streak. So I don't know if he read it or not. I got an A in the class. But I did this shit all, and I studied Hebrew literature at Temple. So I had this European guy. He was saying like the guy from the Paper Chase. He wore a bow tie and a suit. And it was like this European methodology actually prepared me for Michigan's case method, because this guy would call on you in class, and it was Hebrew literature, and we're reading poetry. It was not easy shit.
Oh, it's right.
Right, so we're reading poetry and literature about the state of Israel and all this stuff. Okay, so I'm reading this stuff. And he would call on you for a half an hour straight, in a 2-hour class. And because he would try to get you to make a mistake.
Uh-huh.
And he would just call on me, and he would call on me and call on me and call on me and call on me. And then I would say, Dr. Sharashevsky, I said, perhaps someone else who might like a turn. Mr. Salmonson, do not be impertinent. I said, I think someone else might like a turn. The time is almost up. I said, if you're trying to get me to make a mistake, I'm prepared today, and this will not happen.
Eric, do you forget anything?
No, I remember a lot.
Do you forget anything?
But here's the best part of this, dude. So I take the Hebrew literature class, and I would always give them an envelope to know what my grade was ahead of time. My father told me to do this.
What do you do?
You give them an envelope with your
And a
grade
piece
in
of paper so they could write my grade in it, because it was before the computers, and you would get your grades, and then they'd go on vacation, and it would be hard to get in touch with them. So I got my grade and said B+ in Hebrew literature. And I go, this is not fucking possible. So I call up his office, and I say, I'd like to schedule an appointment to review my blue book with Dr. Sharashevsky. So the motherfucker calls up my house at 7:30 in the morning, and my mother goes, Eric, wake up. There's someone on the phone sounding very indignant named Dr. Sharashevsky. So it's 7:30 a.m. He's calling. So he goes, Mr. Salmonson, you are most impertinent to challenge your grade. I said, Dr. Sharashevsky, it's not a challenge, it's about knowledge. I said, I thought I knew the material, and I would like to see where I went astray.
That's good.
So he said, well, as a result of your impertinent remark, I reviewed your blue book, and I noticed that I forgot to add in one section, and that you did not have an 86, you had a 96.
Oh. What did he do? Is that true?
It is totally true. He goes, and so I must apologize, sir. Sometimes mistakes are made. And I had him write my recommendation to Michigan also, because the guy was seriously intelligent. And so I guess the reason why I didn't take anyone's shit when I got to Michigan was I'd been practicing for years. Because I in high school told this trash talk to teachers too. I'd sit in the front of this class and sleep and take notes while I was sleeping, and then they would like call on me. And then like I would say stuff to them, and then they would get annoyed, and then I just practiced this stuff all the time. I told someone once I had an A minus that I knew that if I got like a 72 that I would still get an A minus. I said, I am not going to study for your final because I'm getting an A minus no matter what. And I said, so there's no incentive. I will be playing basketball and swimming this week. I said because I can't get an A. I said, so I have no incentive. And I said, maybe you could give me one. I said, after all, this is about learning, isn't it? I said, perhaps you could give me an incentive.
I remember we were in business school.
What did he say?
He did.
Yeah.
He gave you an A?
Yeah, I said, he goes, if you get an A, I'll give you an A on the final. I said, okay.
So Eric negotiated a lot of your grades and really,
I negotiated.
You worked it to
You
the
know what my
end.
friends at Penn used to tell me? It was like, I only applied to Temple and Penn State, and I didn't apply to any schools other than those two. And they told me that that after they were actually the test is only the first round of the ultimate negotiation.
Okay, let me just